Red Dead Redemption released back in 2010, yet it's still sitting comfortably in the conversation for one of the greatest games ever made. 14 years later, it hasn't just aged well, it still outclasses a lot of modern releases. So if you've somehow skipped it, or you haven't gone back in years, here's why you should absolutely spend your time with Red Dead Redemption in 2024. First, the story. You've probably heard this 1,000 times, but it's true, Red Dead Redemption has one of the strongest narratives ever put into a video game. If you've never played it, you're in for a genuinely special experience. And if you have played it before, it's absolutely worth revisiting, especially now that you can see it with fresh eyes. Going back, you'll notice details, character moments, and little bits of world building you probably missed the first time around. It doesn't matter whether you played Red Dead Redemption 2 first or not. The two games complement each other in a way that's almost unreal. One enriches the other, and together they form one of the best stories in gaming. Red Dead Redemption 1 pulls you in quickly, but you do need to be patient with those early missions. Some of the opening hours aren't fast-paced, and a few of those tasks might even feel a bit dull if you're expecting non-stop shootouts. But those slower missions are there for a reason. They're building the characters, the relationships, and the tone. If you're the kind of player who gets bored easily, this is where you need to trust the game. Stick with it. Let the pacing breathe. The payoff is absolutely worth it. The missions aren't designed to keep you in constant action, they're designed to make you care. You spend time with these characters, you learn who they are, and because of that, when the big moments hit, they actually mean something. That kind of careful character work is rare, and it's a huge part of why the story hits so hard. Red Dead Redemption makes you feel something. Not just hype, not just adrenaline, but genuine emotion. It's one of the most impactful stories many players have ever experienced, and that comes down to the writing, the pacing, and the world it builds around you. As a kid, a lot of that subtlety might fly over your head. Coming back as an adult, you suddenly realize how layered and mature it really is. It puts a lot of recent cinematic games to shame, because it doesn't just tell you a story, it lets you live in it. That leads straight into the second reason, the open world. This game is more than a decade old, yet its world design still embarrasses plenty of modern titles. Rockstar are masters at crafting living, breathing environments, and Red Dead Redemption is a perfect example of that. Even if you've rolled your eyes at how long they've milked GTA 5, there's no denying they know how to build an open world that feels alive. The map in Red Dead Redemption 1 is big, detailed, and full of personality. Sure, it's not as technically impressive as Red Dead Redemption 2's world, but it absolutely deserves to be experienced on its own terms. Don't let the age scare you off. Once you're riding through the desert, watching the sun set over the plains, hearing the wind and the distant gunfire, it never feels like an old game. It just feels like a great world. There's a density and a sense of presence here that a lot of newer games struggle to match. The AI reacts intelligently, the random encounters feel organic, and the atmosphere is thick. Compare it to something like Starfield, where the worlds can feel empty and disconnected, and you start to appreciate just how far ahead Red Dead was. The way the NPCs behave, the way towns feel lived in, the way the environment reacts to you, it all adds up to a world that still feels more immersive than many current-gen releases. That's a huge compliment, and it shows how well this game was built. It's not just nostalgia. Even now, in 2024, Red Dead Redemption's open world stands tall. Maybe that says a lot about how good Rockstar were at their peak. Or maybe it says a lot about how many modern games are lazy cash grabs. Either way, this is a world worth riding back into. Third reason, the recent re-release. No, it's not the full-blown remaster everyone was begging for, but it is a cleaner, smoother way to play. Red Dead Redemption 1 is now available on Nintendo Switch and modern PlayStation hardware, and on PS5 you can finally play it at 60 frames per second. That alone makes a huge difference in how it feels. There are also some minor graphical touch-ups that sharpen things up without ruining the original style. On Xbox Series X, you can run it at higher frame rates with improved textures, and those upgraded textures really help the game hold up visually. This isn't some massive remake, but it does mean you can enjoy this classic on current consoles without dragging out an old PS3 or Xbox 360 and dealing with blurry visuals and clunky performance. If you're picky about graphics, this matters. A lot of people won't touch older games because they think they'll look rough by today's standards. With these re-releases, Red Dead Redemption looks cleaner, sharper, and more comfortable on modern displays. It keeps the original art direction intact while smoothing out the rough edges. For anyone who cares about visuals, this is the version to play, and it's a very real reason to dive back in now. Fourth reason, Undead Nightmare, one of the best expansions ever released. This isn't some tiny add-on or a lazy cash grab. This is Red Dead Redemption turned into a full-blown zombie apocalypse, with its own story, its own tone, and a ridiculous amount of content. It's basically a whole new game layered on top of an already great one. Undead Nightmare takes that familiar open world and twists it into something darker and weirder. Towns are overrun, the sky is eerie, and the frontier becomes a horror playground. You're still playing as John Marston, but now you're dealing with hordes of the undead, mythical creatures, and a story that plays like a parody and a tribute at the same time. It's fun, it's creative, and it never feels like a cheap reskin. This was from an era when DLC felt like a genuine expansion, not a way to nickel and dime players. You paid for it, you got a full experience, and you could feel the effort that went into it. Undead Nightmare is packed with missions, side content, and unique moments. It's not just Red Dead with zombies as a gimmick, it's Red Dead with zombies done properly. A lot of people have forgotten just how good it is, and that's a shame, because it deserves to be mentioned alongside the best zombie games ever made. It takes an already incredible game and adds a whole new layer without cutting corners. Calling it just DLC almost undersells it. If you've never played it, you're missing out on one of the coolest alternate modes in gaming. If you have, you already know it's worth revisiting. Fifth reason, the online mode. This is from a simpler time, before shark cards and aggressive microtransactions took over. Red Dead Redemption's online is more basic than what you see in modern Rockstar titles, but that's exactly what makes it so refreshing. It's focused on gameplay, not on pushing you toward a store. Jumping into it in 2024, you might expect an empty wasteland, but the surprising thing is, it's still alive. You can hop into a lobby and actually find other players riding around, shooting, messing about, and playing the various modes. For a game this old, that's impressive on its own. The fact that people are still there says a lot about how fun it still is. The online experience is stripped back compared to Red Dead Redemption 2, but it has a charm and simplicity that a lot of players find appealing. There are plenty of game modes, you can team up with friends or just roll with randoms, and you don't have to wade through endless menus and monetization. You just get in, pick a mode, and play. There is some nostalgia at work, sure, but it's more than that. The core gameplay is solid, the modes are varied, and the lack of constant in-your-face purchases makes it feel almost relaxing compared to modern online games. It's a reminder of how good online could be when the focus was on fun first. One downside is that we don't have Undead Nightmare online in the recent re-release. Back in the day, that mode was incredible, and it would still hold up now. It's a shame it wasn't brought back, because running around in a zombie-infested frontier with friends was pure chaos in the best way. But even without that, the original online suite is still there, still playable, and still worth checking out. Put all of this together, and you've got a game that absolutely deserves your time in 2024. A story that still hits harder than most modern blockbusters. An open world that feels alive and immersive despite its age. A re-release that lets you enjoy it with smoother performance and cleaner visuals. One of the best expansions ever made in Undead Nightmare. And an online mode that, against all odds, is still active and still fun. If you've never played Red Dead Redemption, this is the perfect moment to jump in. If you played it years ago, this is your chance to experience it again with a new perspective and better hardware. Few games manage to stay this relevant, this beloved, and this playable after so many years. Red Dead Redemption isn't just a classic, it's a game that still stands toe-to-toe with what's coming out today. So saddle up, hit the frontier, and see for yourself why this game refuses to fade away.